Hello, my name is Jasmine Mckissick, and I'm an occupational health consultant. And today's talk will be about breaking the mold, a glimpse into exposure, control, and prevention. So, why are we here? I know you guys are a group of house flippers. You frequently encounter mold in the homes that you flip. So, today's talk will be about mold itself, how are we exposed, the health effects of different types of mold exposures, protecting ourselves and our crew from mold, as well as prevention of having mold in the new homes that we've renovated. So, where can we find mold? Mold can be found indoors, outdoors, around drains, um, also within damaged areas or water damaged areas, especially in attics or basements. There can be water leaks, whether that's pipes busting or something of that nature. We can also find mold on different porous surfaces, such as carpets, walls that tend to absorb moisture. Also, water exposed areas, such as in the kitchen where you're washing dishes, the bathroom where there's a shower or bath, and then the laundry or washroom, whichever one you want to call it, where there can be condensation from the dryer itself or from just, steam within the bathroom or the kitchen, just warm water running. And there's different routes of mold exposure. When you think of routes of exposure, you can think of whether you inhale it, whether you've ingested it, or something through the skin. But for mold, the two routes of exposure that we want to focus on are inhalation, breathing in the mold spores, or open skin, whether you have had a cut or some type of wound, like the paper cut depicted here. Mold spores can get inside that wound or open skin. And there's different types of mold that we are exposed to. Five main types of mold that we want to talk about are cladosporium, penicillium, aspergillus, alternaria, and Stachybotrys shortarium, also known as atra, depending on where you are. So cladosporium is very common. It's a dark mold. It's associated with plants and outdoor air. So pretty much when you walk outside, you are exposed to cladosporium. They produce volatile organic compounds, and those volatile organic compounds can be different depending on which species that you're looking at. They can exacerbate asthma, so if you or a person on your crew does have asthma, it can exacerbate those symptoms. You can also get different skin or respiratory infections from cladosporium. Those respiratory infections, they could either affect your sinuses or your lungs, and if you have open skin, then you can get a skin infection. So for penicillium, we always think of penicillin, when we think of penicillium. True enough, that is the same mold. But when we're thinking about a house, this is a very common mold. It's found in air, it's found in dust. It can produce mycotoxins, and mycotoxins are toxins produced by molds, and these can cause different types of allergic reactions or other types of symptoms in people or animals. There's various colors of penicillium. You may see blue, white, green, etc. So that's a little bit different from the dark mold we previously discussed. Penicillium can cause sinusitis, and also it can exacerbate your respiratory function in asthmatics. So if you or a person on your crew has asthma, once again, those symptoms can be exacerbated by these different types of molds. So aspergillus, it's commonly found in air. And a note about aspergillus is that in immunocompromised populations, these people are more susceptible to acquiring an infection. And when I say immunocompromised, I mean people who are on chronic steroids or people that have some type of immunosuppression, meaning that their immune system is suppressed so it doesn't fight against different bacteria or different organisms as well. Whether a person has HIV, that's also another immunocompromised state. So when you think about aspergillosis, that's something that can be caused by aspergillus. And there's different types of aspergillosis. You could talk about the allergic type, which is allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis. It's kind of similar to asthma in that you have wheezing and shortness of breath. You can also talk about a aspergillus sinusitis. So it's more focused in those nasal passages of your sinuses. You can have a runny nose, you could have a stuffy nose. You can have a headache or decreased ability to smell. Also, you can have an aspergilloma, also known as a fungus ball within the lungs, and that can cause you to cough or cough up blood and have shortness of breath. And chronic aspergillosis can cause you to have weight loss, fatigue, shortness of breath. So it seems like every next step is more severe. And then going back to our immunocompromised population, if you or someone on your crew is immunocompromised, then you may be at risk for invasive aspergillosis, in which it's kind of like chronic aspergillosis, but instead it's a more severe version in which you can have infection going to other areas of the body, so not just the lungs. So Alternaria is very common. Also, these fungi produce mycotoxins. They can cause allergies in people, exacerbate asthma, can cause people to have hay fever. And once again, immunocompromised populations are more susceptible to skin infections and upper respiratory infections caused by Alternaria. You can have more opportunistic infections, and that's just saying that if you are immunocompromised, then your immune system does not work as well, so you have more of an opportunity in order to be infected. And that's a simple way of saying that you are at greater risk. So Stachybotrys Stratarium, also known as or Atra, depending on where you are in the country, is the infamous black mold. This black mold produces mycotoxins, which can cause you to have mycotoxicosis. And mycotoxicosis is just when you have inhaled or absorbed a large amount of this fungi, and it causes you to have like a huge increase in the mucotoxins in your body. And this can cause you to have allergic reactions, sinusitis, cough, wheezing, shortness of breath. And it's very serious because these toxins cause you to have all these reactions. So how do we protect ourselves? We found out, how do we get exposed? What are we exposed to? So how do we protect ourselves? So PPE, personal protective equipment. Also, assess for water damage or mold damage in the home and clean up work areas. So different types of PPE or masks. It's recommended that you use an N95 respirator that allows you to breathe air, but it does filter out some of those mold particles. Goggles to make sure that you don't have any mold fall into your eyes, and gloves so it does not absorb into your skin or get into an open cut or wound. And then assessing for damage. You can look for pools of water, water leaks in different areas of the home, and areas of mold growth themselves. So water and humidity create a great environment for mold to grow. Also, there's different cleaning methods. So you can use a bleach solution, also soap solutions, an air vacuum. And air vacuums, it says HEPA. So what does that mean? That's a high efficiency particulate air vacuum. So pretty much what you're doing, you are filtering the air. And then disposal. Get rid of the things that are infested with mold. Common things that are infested would be insulation in the walls, drywall, carpet, because it is so porous and it can hold moisture and thus facilitate mold growth. And you can't really clean up anything until you get rid of what's already infested. So how do we prevent mold in and around the home? So we can change the construction materials that we use. And we can also change the different building materials that we use. So as far as construction methods, a concrete foundation is good to prevent mold growth, because you are putting yourself higher off of the ground. Also, you don't have to worry about using a more porous material such as wood. I kind of talked a little bit about that. Elevation of the foundation, you are putting yourself further away from water. Also, make sure that you fix water leaks. So if you don't provide the humidity for mold to grow, then it's less likely to grow. You can have a thicker insulation in your walls, and also thicker insulation around pipes, so that if you have thicker insulation around the pipes, you're less likely to have a water leak. And also if you have thicker insulation in the walls, then you're less likely to have mold growing in between the layers interior and exterior layers of your home. And also, try to provide adequate drainage systems so that water does not pool in any area either around the home or under the home or next to the home. Also, you can use different building materials. So, waterproof concrete. Once again, humidity begets mold. So, if we waterproof the concrete, you're less likely to grow mold. You can also use antifungal treated materials such as wood to build the house. There's also treated paints and drywall. So, you are protecting yourself and the future homeowners from a bad investment. Also, you can use mold resistant materials such as insulation, trim, caulk, sealant. So, all these different materials can safeguard you from growing new fungi. And in conclusion, the things that we talked about were mold itself. What are we exposed to? How are we exposed? The health effects that can come from mold exposure. How do we protect ourselves and our crew from mold, as well as preventing mold in the new homes that we are renovating? Thank you guys for listening, and these are my references. Have a great day.